Most people believe that power at work begins the day someone hands them a title. The promotion, the direct reports, the pay band that finally makes the late nights feel justified. Until that moment, they assume they are powerless. They assume their job is to perform until someone with real authority decides they have earned a piece of it. That belief keeps a lot of people stuck for a very long time. But inside almost every workplace, some of the most powerful people are not managers. They are the person everyone checks with before touching a broken process. The person whose judgment determines whether a project is realistic or fantasy. The person managers consult before making a move they cannot reverse. These people have real power, the kind that shapes outcomes, prevents disasters, and stabilizes teams. The problem is that most of them built that power accidentally. The company benefits from it constantly. They remain underpaid, overloaded, and easy to replace on paper. This video is about how to build that power on purpose, protect it once you have it, and make sure the institution cannot pretend it does not exist. 7 moves. None of them require a title. All of them require you to stop waiting for one. Move 1. Stop understanding just the task. Start understanding the system around it. Most workers understand their assignment. Powerful workers understand who depends on the work, who delays it, who approves it, who blocks it, who gets blamed when it fails, and who collects credit when it succeeds. They know which deadlines are real and which deadlines are political theater designed to create urgency. They know which meetings move decisions and which meetings exist only to perform alignment that was already decided elsewhere. They know which problems keep returning every quarter because nobody wants to own the fix. A task worker says, "I submitted the report." A systems worker says, "I submitted the report," but finance usually holds approval for 3 days, legal only reviews on Thursdays, and the client meeting is Monday morning, so this needs to be escalated today or it will miss the cycle. The second person has power because the second person understands reality. Move 2. Control your visibility before someone else controls your story. Many strong employees believe their work will speak for itself. That is one of the most expensive beliefs in professional life. Work does not speak for itself. People speak for it. Managers summarize it, colleagues reinterpret it, metrics flatten it into numbers that lose all context. Someone else may attach their name to it before anyone notices. 6 months later, when promotion conversations happen, the person who controlled the narrative wins, not the person who did the work. Controlled visibility is not bragging. It is making sure the right people know what you contributed, what problem you solved, what risk you prevented, and what results your work created. If you do not narrate your contribution, the workplace will convert your labor into someone else's leadership story. That is not a cynical observation. That is what happens by default every single day in every organization that has more than 10 people in it. Move 3. Keep receipts, not out of paranoia, out of self-preservation. Workplaces forget conveniently. Who agreed to what the original deadline was, who changed the scope and when, who approved the shortcut that later became a problem, who gave the instruction, who warned them, who did the extra work, who carried the situation when it broke. When things go wrong, memory becomes political. The version of events that survives is usually the version that protects the person with the most power in the room, unless someone else has documentation. Your receipts give your reality a timestamp. You build a written record without making it dramatic. Confirm decisions in email. Recap meetings in writing. Note dates of requests. Track approvals and scope changes. Make a habit of brief follow-up messages that begin with phrases like "just confirming from our conversation." Receipts are not confrontation. They are professional memory protection. Move 4. Name the work you are actually doing. This is one of the most expensive mistakes non-managers make. They become powerful because they fix things nobody else can fix. Then they lose that power because they never name what they are doing. They become the unofficial trainer, the unofficial project coordinator, the unofficial quality controller, the unofficial emergency responder, the unofficial process designer. The company depends on every one of those roles. None of them appear on the job description, the performance review, or the compensation conversation. Unnamed work becomes free work. If you're training new hires, call it training. If you're coordinating deadlines across teams, call it coordination. If you are catching errors before they reach leadership, call it quality control. If you are calming difficult clients, call it client recovery. Do not let them call it helping when it is actually unpaid management. The moment you name the work, it becomes harder to pretend it is not real. It enters the record, it enters the review, it enters the negotiation. That is exactly why some managers will resist the language. The language is the leverage. Move 5. Build relationships across the organization, not just up. There is a critical difference between vertical dependence and lateral power. Vertical dependence means your influence flows through one boss. If that boss leaves, gets reassigned, or starts protecting someone else, your reputation collapses with theirs. That is not power. That is custody. Yes. Lateral power means people across the organization know your work, your judgment, your reliability, and your credibility independently of your manager's opinion. Finance trusts your numbers. Legal knows you send clean information. Operations knows you understand real constraints, not idealized ones. When something goes wrong, those people speak up for you in rooms you are not in. If your boss is the only person in the company who knows your value, your reputation is trapped inside one person's interpretation of you. Build the web wider. Make your competence visible to people your manager does not control. Move 6. Speak in outcomes, not effort. Most employees describe their work in terms of effort. I worked really hard on this. Management does not think in terms of effort. Management thinks in terms of what changed because of the work. If you cannot translate your labor into business impact, someone else will reduce it to attitude, personality, or team spirit. None of those words protect your salary or your trajectory. Compare two framings of the same work. The effort version says I helped with onboarding. The outcome version says I created a repeatable onboarding checklist that reduced repeated questions and helped new hires reach independence 2 weeks faster. Same work, different language, different career trajectory. The vocabulary is specific. Time saved, errors reduced, revenue protected, customer issues prevented, risk lowered, cost avoided, quality improved, compliance maintained, team capacity increased. These are the words that enter the record and stay there. Hard worker and team player are the words that sound warm and protect nothing. Move 7. Build external leverage before you need it. Internal power has a ceiling if you have no external options. A worker without external leverage is easier to pressure because the company knows, even without saying it, that leaving would be painful for you. That dynamic works quietly and continuously without anyone acknowledging it. External leverage means you are not fully dependent on one employer's approval to feel safe. It comes from an updated resume, a strong portfolio, a professional network outside your company, current certifications, industry relationships, savings that buy you time, and recent interview practice. This does not mean you are planning to leave tomorrow. It means you are not waiting until you are burned out, targeted, or trapped before you start building options. Options change posture. You negotiate differently when you have alternatives. You tolerate less disrespect. You recover faster from a bad performance review. You stop begging for recognition from people who benefit from withholding it. The most dangerous time to build leverage is after you already need it. Now here's the piece that ties all 7 moves together and determines whether they actually work or just create more labor without more power. Timing. Power is not just accumulation. Power is knowing when to deploy what you have built. Some employees build real influence and waste it on every minor frustration. They argue every comment in every meeting. They die on every hill. By the time something serious happens, their credibility is already spent on small fights nobody remembers. Others build influence and never use it at all. They go entire careers absorbing things they had the standing to push back against because they never developed the judgment to deploy what they have built. Building power and never using it is just accumulating weight you carry for someone else's benefit. Your credibility is capital. Your relationships are capital. Your documentation is capital. Your expertise is capital. Your emotional energy is capital. Spend strategically. Save it for workload boundaries, credit theft, role expansion without compensation, distorted performance reviews, and decisions that materially affect your career trajectory. Put all 7 moves together. 1. Understand the system around the task, not just the task itself. 2. Control your visibility before someone else controls your story. 3. Keep receipts, not out of paranoia, but out of professional memory protection. 4. Name the work you are actually doing so it enters the record. 5. Build lateral relationships across the organization so your reputation is not trapped in one person's custody. 6. Speak in outcomes, not effort, so your contribution translates into the language that protects your career. 7. Build external leverage before you need it so your power has somewhere to go if the internal situation breaks down. And then deploy them with judgment. Not on every frustration, not on every minor slight, not on every annoying comment in a meeting that will be forgotten by Thursday. On the things that actually shape your career. The workload decisions, the credit assignments, the review conversations, the compensation discussions, the role definitions. Power without judgment becomes noise. Judgment without power becomes frustration. The point is to build both and use them only on things that matter. None of this is about becoming management's favorite. None of it is about chasing a title. None of it is about manipulation or dishonesty or sabotage. None of it requires you to become someone you would not respect. The point is to stop being useful without being protected. To stop being visible only when something breaks. To stop letting other people control the story of your work. Be careful with the trap of indispensability. Being the only person who knows how a broken process works sounds like power. It often becomes a cage. They might not promote you because they need you where you are. They might overload you because you are the only one who can absorb it. They might deny you rest because everything fails when you step away. Your reliability becomes infrastructure, and infrastructure does not get raises. Infrastructure gets maintenance. The goal is not to be irreplaceable. The goal is to be high value and mobile. Being needed is not the same as being valued. A workplace can need you desperately and still underpay, overlook, and exhaust you. Being needed gives the company a reason to hold you in place. Being valued with options gives you a reason to stay or leave on your own terms. You can shape perception. You can protect your record. You can expand your options. You can control your visibility. You can become harder to dismiss, harder to overload without consequence, and harder to mistreat without cost. You do not need a title to have power, but you do need proof. Proof that you understand the system, not just the task. Proof that your contribution is documented, not just performed. Proof that your value is visible to people beyond the one manager who benefits from keeping you where you are. Proof that your skills travel, that your record is your own, and that your options exist independently of this one employer's willingness to recognize what you have built. The point is to stop waiting for permission to be powerful. The company will not hand you power voluntarily. They will hand you a title when they are ready, on their timeline, for their reasons, in a way that serves their equilibrium. Your power cannot wait for that. Your power starts the moment you decide to build it on purpose rather than accumulating it accidentally and giving it away for free. Subscribe if this gave you language for something you have been navigating without it. And send this to the person on your team who carries real power, builds real outcomes, holds the entire operation together, and still does not have the title, the salary, or the recognition that matches what they actually do. Because they deserve to hear that what they have built is not nothing. It is everything. They just need proof. It just needs proof. I will see you in the next one.